mean, break every chain. You said you didn't see that this was a Grammy Award winning hit.
Everybody's like, yeah, how you feel about the Grammy? I don't know because my heart is broken. I said, Dad, if I ever win any awards, I promise you I'll give them to you. So that night when I won those 3 awards, I gave them to him. He had these 3 boxes in his hand. And I was like, take out one, I'm gonna take a picture. And I snapped a picture of my dad. He just had so much pride on his face. And he got on the elevator, and that would be the last time I would see him here on earth.
This royalty album was a setup for really what was to take place afterwards.
My husband, he comes in the room where I am, and he says, babe, what do you think about adoption? It was necessary for me to see those broken places within my spiritual walk with Christ.
Welcome to Vaughn Powers Talks, where we don't just scratch the surface. We dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential change makers. I'm your host, Brandi Harvey. Y'all, she's here, the powerhouse of gospel music. Tasha Cobbs Leonard is a gospel music powerhouse. Tasha is a Grammy, Dove, Billboard, and Stellar Award winner whose anthem, Break Every Chain, has touched millions. Beyond her musical triumphs, she's an entrepreneur and ministry leader and the co-founder of the Purpose Place Church. In May 2024, she released her debut book, Do It Anyway. Don't give up before it gets good, a raw, faith-filled guide on perseverance. Now, followed by the 60-day devotional companion, inviting readers to embrace resilience in every season. Adding to her business story, Tasha recently opened the Athlete's Foot sneaker boutique in Greenville under the START program, becoming one of the few Black female franchise owners. Vaughn Powers Talks welcome wife, mother, singer, songwriter, entrepreneur, and pastor Tasha Cobbs Leonard to the show.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
Listen.
Oh, I finally made it up here, guys.
Listen, baby, she drove in this morning. So we thank God for her traveling mercies because she got here.
Amen.
I am so excited to talk to you. I was like, I got to tell you, Break Every Chain, More Than Able. These are just songs that be on the daily playlist for me, you know. You have just been a part of so many of our spiritual journey. You've gotten us through. You've been a huge comfort.
Wow.
That's some power you got over there in that voice.
Thank you. That's a blessing to hear because sometimes you don't see the back end or the back end of the story.
Yeah.
You know, and so while I am helping to usher people through their seasons in life, you know, you have to go through them yourself.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about the book, and I know we'll get back into it, but that gave me an opportunity to share some of those stories behind the scenes, the story behind the song, you know. So to hear how those songs have been a blessing to others, it's always encouraging to me. Always.
Break Every Chain. You said you didn't see that this was a Grammy Award winning hit. You didn't see it.
Yeah, I did. You know what? I knew that song would impact people's lives probably, and I'm thinking probably just within the walls of the church. You know, like, hey, they're going to sing this at their churches. People going to shout a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was so much bigger than that. There were people who needed chains broken in every culture, in every, across every bridge. You know, my mentor used to say, you know, this is my spiritual daughter, Tasha, and she's a bridge to the nations. That was like 2011, 2010, and I didn't understand it then.
Yeah.
But after releasing Break Every Chain, there was like this revelation behind what he was saying that, hey, Tasha, this is bigger than the 4 walls of the church. There's a calling on your life to bridge the gap, and bring people into the awareness of the presence of God. And I have embraced that calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were growing up and you said church, if they told you couldn't go to church, that was your punishment.
Yes.
For us, it was like, you can't go to the mall. You can't.
Right.
And I grew up in the church, but baby, if you said, we got a day off,
right? You celebrating, right? Yeah, that was my story. And I don't know, you know, I didn't understand it then as a kid, but I just had this hunger. Like, I want more of the experience. I just had this hunger to be in the presence of God. And I didn't have language for it back then, except I just want to go to church. I want to go to choir rehearsal. I want to go to Bible study. I want to go to vacation Bible school, whatever, Sunday school, you know. I just wanted to be there. And now I have a greater understanding that there was this hunger being birthed in me because of my calling.
Yeah.
You know, I had to have an anchor back then that I was digging deep just for the weight of the assignment that I have now.
I mean, your father, everybody in your family's pastors and got churches. Right. Your father breaks away to go start his own church. You started your own church. I mean, this is like the bedrock of your life.
Yes. Yeah. Church. And then I married a church boy. Man, but I think it's so much bigger than that. Kenny and I have this thing where we're like, hey, we understand our purpose now. It's to bring God everywhere we go, and it may be desolate places. A few years ago, I remember this story. I don't know if I've ever told this before. I remember I released an eyewear company, and I named it after my dad. It's called Fritz Eyewear. And that first year, I went to an expo. It was my first time there. We were in Vegas, and I walk into this arena, and, it could be me sensationalizing, being dramatic, but I felt like the wind was just blowing, and my hair, back then I had all that hair blowing in the wind. And I walk in, and I really, really sensed the presence of God. Like, hey, Tasha, you're walking into another door or another dimension of what I've called you to do. And I remember just kind of feeling that I felt fulfilled. Like, okay, this is outside of the four walls of the church. And I walked past this booth. There was a guy there. He was working for a company that was, I guess, just launching their eyewear company. And he said to me, oh my God, it's Tasha. I never thought I would meet you. Wow. And he said, I listen to your music every single day. Tears start running down his face. And he said, but I never thought I'd meet you because, who knew that you would walk into an expo like this, or who knew? And immediately I thought, there are some people who may never come to my church. Yeah. But do I accept the assignment to go to where they are? And I really, really felt at that moment like, hey, I embrace this fully, that there are some people who are called to who I'm called to, called to serve. Maybe it's through worship or just the word of God or just my presence. And I have to go to where they are, so I accept that assignment. Yeah.
I mean, this assignment from the very beginning has just, you spend so much time with Dr. William Murphy, Bishop William Murphy over at the Dream Center. Yep. Yeah, and so you cultivated your craft a little more up under somebody like him, who is also a singing pastor.
Oh my goodness!
Listen,
incredible. Imagine that, having to come behind that. I was like, oh God, are you serious?
Yeah, masterful. Yeah, but I want you to go back because when Break Every Chain comes out and it just skyrockets and it takes you to the top of the charts, millions and millions of sales on this album. And then it takes you to the Stellar Awards first, takes you to the Grammys. Yeah. But I want you to tell the story because I was watching one of your interviews and I was like, oh my God. Right. I was like, I had you on my speaker while I was cooking. Then I had to go look at the screen. I said, well, wait, let me stop and look at this.
Wow.
The story of your father, because you all were so close. Your father and your mother met at 13 years old. And so your father suddenly passes away as soon as you get the Stellar Award.
Yeah. You know what? And it was, my dad was the guy. He was like, always super excited. Anytime I said, hey, Dad, I got to go speak, I don't care if it was at somewhere 20 people going to be there. He just thought that was the most amazing thing because he cultivated the communicator in me. So before there was ever the worship leader, Tasha, to him, I preached what they called my trial sermon when I was 10 years old. Wow. So Daddy put me up and was like, hey, you going to preach this? And I felt like it was pretty good, to be a 10-year-old. But I remember him just being so proud that, hey, I put this in her and I'm watching God do this all over the world. And once this worship thing just started blowing up, I would call him and be like, Daddy, I got to go sing here. He'd be like, oh, baby, do a good job. Daddy, I got to preach this Sunday. I knew it. You're just, what you going to preach about? So he was just always, I was a daddy's girl, to the core. I would often sit at my dad's feet, sit in his lap. Whenever he showed up, I was like, and he wasn't a man of very many words. He didn't talk a lot. Now, sometimes he would get into this little comedy thing, have all of us laughing. But for the most part, when he spoke, we all leaned in because it was going to be profound. It was going to be wise. He would always tell me, baby, stay at the feet of Jesus. Ever since I could remember, that would be the thing that he would say to me. And now I have this understanding that while he was telling me life's gonna get tough,
Yeah.
even in his passing, I had to like hinge on his word that stay at the feet of Jesus because it's gonna get tough and you gotta have a strong anchor.
Yeah.
Because life gonna start lifing. And it may not be that way right now at 3 and 5 and 6 years old, but it's coming. And I think that was him preparing me even for him passing. And I was fairly young, I was in my 30s. And it's like, hey, I felt like I had so much more time with Daddy. And so here we are. Break Every Chain is just kind of taking off. I had 60 seconds to sing Break Every Chain at the Stellar Awards. And they were just him and my mom. They were beaming from ear to ear, just smiling. They were so super proud. And Daddy kept saying, okay, Daddy's going to come to Nashville, which was already mind-blowing because Daddy was a down-home country pastor. He was the first one to get there, last one to leave. He's checking the thermostat. He was all of that. He babied all of the partners at the church. Daddy was daddy to everybody.
Yeah.
So for him to say, I'm going to miss church this Sunday and come to Nashville, that alone was an award for me. Like Daddy chose me today, and he always did. It might have took a little coercing to get him out of there, but he always did. And so for him and Mama to be there, and it just so happened that year they had like they did a center stage, so a satellite stage, and I was in the center of the room, which placed me literally, I could almost touch them from the stage.
Wow.
So for me to look out and see them sitting there, they were so, so proud. That year I won 3 Stellar Awards that night. And so that night we're hanging out at Bishop Murphy's room. We're having, just excited, celebrating. And Bishop Murphy says, call Daddy and see if they're going to come down. I was like, Daddy is not coming down here at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I just texted him. I was like, hey, Dad, we're hanging out in Pastor Murphy's room. Would you like to come? And he immediately responded, me and your mama on the way. First of all, why are y'all up? Let's just talk about that. So we're hanging out, and Daddy was just up, and he pulled out his comedy set that night. I mean, we were on the floor laughing, just crying, laughing. And about 4 o'clock that morning, they decided that, hey, okay, we're going to go back to our room. We got a long drive tomorrow. And so I walked them to the elevator, and I was like, hold on, Dad, hold on. I want you to take a picture with my Stellars. And I got to go back. So my dad, I did an independent project.
So this is when he was the executive producer, right?
So this is the one after that.
Okay.
This is the one where he's asking, okay, when does Daddy get paid back? When does the executive producer get his money back? Like, he just kept asking me that, and I would just laugh. So I promised him. I said, Dad, if I ever win any awards, I promise you I'll give them to you. And he literally took that to heart. So my dad was a carpenter. He had built this beautiful curio for all of the awards that he knew that his daughter was going to win. I had not won anything yet, but he built it in faith. And so that night when I won those 3 awards, I gave them to him. He had these 3 boxes in his hand. And I was like, take out one, I'm going to take a picture. And I snapped a picture of my dad. He just had so much pride on his face. And he got on the elevator, and that would be the last time I would see him here on earth. The next morning, he had a heart attack in the car. On the way home. They actually made it about 30 minutes outside of home, and he had a heart attack and went to be with God. And that was it was a lot to digest because you're here on a mountain. That was one of the highest seasons of my life, but also one of the heaviest seasons of my life. And I think, that's how life works. There are ebbs and flows, ups and downs, seasons where you're up, seasons where you're low, And I feel like I was experiencing highs and lows all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, where everybody's like, how you feel about the Grammy? I don't know because my heart is broken.
I mean, because the Grammys were the next week,
7 days later.
Yeah.
And Daddy kept saying, Daddy's not going to be with you in L.A., but I want you to go anyway. That's where the title of my book came from. I feel like that was the last lesson he was teaching me. That
anyway.
Life is going to be hard, but Daddy wants you to do it anyway. Dig deep and go anyway. There are so many things about that trip to L.A. I do not remember.
Yeah.
And people were so gentle with me. Jay Bolin styled me. Melissa did my makeup. And I just remember how gentle they were with me. And I was very fragile at the time, taking moments to they would let me just go cry, just give me a moment. And I feel like, I don't get to say this often, but I appreciate people being just aware of where I was emotionally at the time, but I knew that I had to be there because Daddy kept saying, I want you to go anyway. And who would have known?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. When I heard you say that, he kept saying, I'm going to be with you in Nashville.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be with you in LA. I'm going to be with you in Nashville. I'm not going to be with you in LA.
But I want you to go anyway.
But I want you to go anyway.
Yeah.
And for you to stand up on that stage that night and get that Grammy, because you said when they called your name,
I sat there.
you didn't even hear it.
Yeah, and my cousin was like, Tasha, like nudging me. Because, they'll start playing the music had started playing. And everybody was like, you need to get up. So I got up. And, of course, people started cheering. The first thing I said, it's the only thing I could think to say, is 7 days ago, the greatest man that I know to ever walk the face of the earth went to be with Jesus. And I would love to honor his legacy today. And I asked the entire academy to stand and give my father a round of applause. And everybody in the academy stood up.
Yeah.
And applauded my dad.
Yeah. I was tearing up. I think I'm tearing up now, even when I heard you tell that.
Yeah.
Because that for him to be honored like that in that moment.
Yeah.
That was for his sacrifice all those years.
Yeah.
For your own sacrifice to even be there.
Right.
And he was with you.
He was there.
Yeah. He was
Every
with you.
little thing about that moment. So weeks before, probably about 3 weeks before, my dad had met Ty Tribbett at a conference. They had gone to a leadership conference. And he came back just boasting about Ty's my best friend. We just hung out. He was just, and so I called Ty, like, what did you do to my dad? Like, he's been talking about you since he came back. And he just fell in love with Ty. Well, at the Grammys, Ty was the one who presented me my award.
Wow.
Like, everything was so divinely orchestrated.
Yeah.
It was like God was saying, he's there with you.
Yeah.
He's there with you. Yeah.
Anchored all along.
Yeah.
I mean, all these moments, the high highs, the low lows, how have you managed to remain grounded?
Yeah.
Because you go through these high highs and low lows, and yet you are still using your gift to bring people out of their low lows.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to realize, and this was a few weeks after Daddy passed. I was standing on a stage, and I was just, trying to go through the motions, and it wasn't working. Everything that I would try that would normally work in a, the notes to hit, what to say, and it's going to get the crowd. But I stood on that stage, and I realized, Tasha, you need your gift for yourself right now. So are you going to worship in hopes that someone else gets set free in the room? Or are you going to worship, hoping that your heart is covered, that you feel the comforting presence of God right now? And I stood on that stage, and there was an old song we used to sing back in the day that came back to me. It's I'll say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I'll say yes, Lord, yes. I will trust you and obey. And I got to the part that says, when your spirit speaks to me. And I just changed the lyrics. I said, with my broken heart, I'll still agree. And my answer will be yes, Lord, yes. My whole mindset about how I ministered changed in that moment.
Natasha, I just got to say, I wanted to jump in so bad. I wanted to jump in so bad. Tasha!
Oh, come on here.
I wanted to jump in my spirit. Tasha, I said, Brandi, you're not going to come in on key. It's not going to be the same.
Come on, join me.
I was literally like, I had it. I was like, I know this one.
Yes.
Listen.
But you know what? It's sometimes we sing these lyrics to these songs, and we don't really think about what we're saying.
Yeah.
I thought about the lyrics to that song. That when your spirit speaks to me, in no matter what season I'm in life, I'll still give you a yes. Mm-hmm. And that's where my heart was in that moment. And I just kind of changed everything about how I presented the gospel through song. That I know you're being blessed, whoever's in the audience, and I pray that you get your breakthrough. But I'm not going to leave myself out. I need it too.
Yeah.
And so I've taken that with me down through the years, that you're not just singing for other people to get a breakthrough.
Yeah.
This is for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been the song of yours that was like, that gave you a breakthrough moment?
It's
song.
different in every season.
Yeah.
Because you got, my name, and I needed that when I was going through depression. Even now, when I feel heavy, when I feel the weight, that, hey, he knows me. And I know he knows everybody else, but that song is just so personal. You know my name. But then Break Every Chain. The story behind Break Every Chain is that it was released prior. So there's a guy, his name is William Regan. He wrote that song, and they released it from another group. And I was really, really dealing with depression and anxiety and fear heavy in those years. So it was about 2011, 2012. And I remember being in the car. I like to drive. So my team, they were all back in the back sleep. We had done a concert somewhere. And I just let my playlist just roll. And it was playing. And this song, Break Every Chain, came on. And immediately tears started to fill my eyes. I was welling up with this sense of, oh my goodness, these walls that I've had all of these years, I feel like this song is breaking something in me, and so I listened to that song on repeat, literally for about 2 weeks. I played it in my house, and I experienced breakthrough from this depression and this weight and this fear that I had been feeling. And of course, you got to do the practical things. So I went to therapy and talked to somebody about it and was very honest about where I was. But there was something about Break Every Chain that no other ministry, I don't care if I was listening to somebody preach or whatever it was something about that song that reached me.
Yeah.
Where nothing else could reach me. And so now people ask me all the time, do you ever get tired of singing Break Every Chain? And my answer is no. Because every single time I know it's going to reach people where they are. It's so something special about it. Yeah.
It is. I mean, it is on every gospel playlist that I have. It is going to make that one.
Yeah, it reaches.
It is one of those songs that no matter where you are, it doesn't matter in age. It's so intergenerational because my mama loved the song. We love the song. It's like my little cousin loved the song.
Yes.
So it's like, it has no bounds, right? It's a boundless record, and it's one of those records that it is a chain breaker. Yeah, wow. It's a chain breaker. I mean, but then most recently you did, because you sang it on Chandler. It's like with More Than Able.
More Than Able.
Yeah.
Yeah, that song.
That had me in a chokehold for about literally a month straight. That was literally the only song that I had on repeat, More Than Able, when it came out.
Who am I to deny what the Lord can do?
Yeah.
Sometimes we just get out of place. Like, okay, you know what, God, you do you, and I'm going to stay in my place. That's what that song is about. Like, it helps to increase your faith that at the end of the day, He is all powerful. Yeah. Who am I to deny what the Lord can do?
Yeah.
He's more than able. Yeah. That song is, they wrote that one. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so powerful. Yeah. Talk about who can deny what the Lord can do. 2017, you married Kenneth.
Yes.
You married Kenneth in 2017. And then you all go on this journey to build a family. Yeah. Of your own, because you're a blended family.
Yes.
So Kenneth already had children from his previous relationship. And so you all are working to build this family, and it wasn't going as planned.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is the plan that we're all given. Yeah. You get married, you spend a year together, then you try to have kids, that's the plan that it's the American dream. You want to do it that way. And we tried it that way. I had people come to me prophesying, oh, you're going to have a baby and we will receive it. You cry and you receive it and you wait on God to do it. Yeah. And you're thinking it's going to happen a certain way because that's the American dream. That's what we're handed. That's what we're given. And it just wasn't working that way for us. And of course, I felt like for years, there was something happening with me in my body. And, because I always had very, very painful cycles, very painful. In the Black community, we kind of chop that up as that, this is normal. Yeah. It was normal in my family. And I never really dug deep into it. I just thought, hey, this is just my lot. This is what I have to deal with. But after we tried for a while, I thought, maybe I need to go get checked. And I have endometriosis. It came back that I have endometriosis, a very severe case of endometriosis. And so, of course, that's heartbreaking because now what do? So for a year, my husband and I, we would fly to Texas once a month. Every single month to clear up the endometriosis in my body. So here I am, we're putting in the work because there's this promise, this prophecy that we have, and we use scripture all the time, faith without works is dead. So we're doing the work.
We're doing the work.
Yeah. So we're flying to Texas every single month, getting these shots, getting these injections to clear up the endometriosis in my body. And now it's time. Everything is clear. I get the clearance from the doctors and we go and we start IVF. IVF, the process of IVF. And I'm thinking, my husband tells this story a little different. He's thinking, there's nothing in me that thought this was going to fail. I thought it was guaranteed. So his story is even different because, everybody focuses on the female. She had the loss, she had the disappointment, and men have this pressure to be, strong, to be the strong one. And I remember one day, I'm veering off, but I want to share this. I really feel this right now. I remember one day we were sitting talking to some of our friends after the miscarriage, and our friend Tim looked at Kenny and said, "But how are you?" And I was so hurt as a wife that I had not stopped to ask my husband,
Wow.
How is your heart through this? Because he had been there for me.
Yeah.
I'm about to cry just thinking about this. And and it's not, you're not thinking this is selfish, but in a way it is. I just never thought to stop and ask, you had a loss too. How's your heart?
Yeah.
So we went through all of that. We went through the IVF, and we had the implant, and we had 3 embryos. We implanted 1, and we did all of the due diligence. We made sure that this embryo was healthy, that there were no defects. We chose the right one. The doctor was like, "This is a perfect embryo." It was the perfect setup. We waited. It takes 2 weeks, for you to get the answer. And the doctor called back and was like, "Tasha, it didn't work." I literally sat probably for an hour before I could even process that all of this work that we had put into making this dream happen could have failed. There's no way this could have failed, And I remember after that hour, it was like I can't even explain it. I just broke. My faith was shattered. Everything happened in a moment. Wow. I started to question what I believed, if I believed what I had been preaching. I mean, I went there immediately, And I talk about this. We question the children of Israel and how their faith was shattered. Anything could happen, and they're questioning God. But the truth is, we're the human part of us. When something that shattering happens, the first thing we do is we go to a place of brokenness with our faith. God, you said, you said this is going to happen. This was your promise to me. And I remember 3 days later, we were supposed to be in Nashville after losing the baby to record an album that I was calling Royalty.
Whoa.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, I did this photo shoot. I got crowns on. We're wearing gold and all of this sequence. And I'm thinking, we're a royal priesthood, a holy nation. And I'm thinking this album is just going to encourage people to walk out there, being fully adopted into the family of Christ, And here I am. Everything that I had in mind about that album was totally different. And I could not hear God clearly to save my life in that season, but I heard him say, "Tasha, go to Nashville." And I'm just at war because I'm thinking there's no way I can encourage people like this.
This is the Do It Anyway coming up
again. This is Do It Anyway coming up again.
Yeah, do it anyway.
And it's the middle of a pandemic. People can't be in the room. Just weeks prior, we found out we can only have 25 people in the building altogether.
Oh,
so
wow.
Now I'm heartbroken. My body is in pain. I am swollen from all of these injections. I am just toiling in my spirit about what I believe. My faith is shattered. And you're going to tell me to go sing songs about royalty anyway.
And 25 people in the building.
25 people in the building.
Yeah.
So I can't even hide behind the applause of an audience. There's nobody there. So how do you worship with all of this, going on? And I wasn't even, I made up my mind. I told my husband, I'm not coming to rehearsal. It is what it is. I'll learn the songs in the room. I'll study in the room, but I'm not coming. I don't want to face anybody. And here I was there.
Wow.
Yeah. I was there at the hotel, and I remember it was like the 3rd day of rehearsal. And I said, I'll just go, it's kind of rude not to speak. So I'll go speak to the singers in the band.
Because you've been there 3 days.
3
They have
days.
not even seen you.
No.
Wow. Okay.
So
they probably, she acting funny. What's wrong with her? Do they know that any
But they're spirit. They are spirit led. So I think they know this is totally out of character for me.
Got it.
We didn't share that we had been going through that with the team. So
they had
know.
no idea.
No.
Wow.
Which is what makes this next part so amazing because many of them knew me for years, me and Kenny both. And I walked in the room and they were singing this song that's on that album, You're Gonna Get the Glory Out of This. And I sat down and they're singing that song and I just begin to wail, like tears. Everybody stops. They don't know what's happening. Half of them, like the guys, they go over and they start laying hands on Kenny. Like, we don't know what's happening, but we feel it on y'all. The girls that came over to me, they started to pray over us. And I felt like I felt covered even though my heart was still broken. I felt like I still feel your presence, and this is weird because I'm questioning you right now. But I felt God. I felt it is key to be surrounded by people who, even when you don't know how to pray, they are intercessors for you.
Yeah.
In that moment, we needed intercessors. And they, without hesitation, jumped into, I don't know, they just took over the moment. Like, we don't know what this heaviness is on you guys. And after that moment, I told them. And we just went into a worship of, like, God, we don't understand why this is happening right now, but we love you and we honor you anyway. Yeah. Like, that was a moment. And that moment gave me strength to record that album. And though it was not the most streamed or sold album, when people come to me who are dealing with depression, they're dealing with grief, they always reference royalty.
Wow.
It never fails.
Yeah.
That I was listening to a song on your album, Royalty, in a season where it was a dark season for me. And my friend Travis Green said something to me. He's like, people don't know the stories behind the weight that they experience on these songs.
Yeah.
And that was one that was very, very heavy. So I'm not surprised when people come to me and say, I was listening to Royalty when I was going through depression.
Wow.
Yeah, because that album was birthed for that person. Yep.
I mean, I really want to go into this for you to dive into this moment, right? Because this Royalty album was a setup for really what was to take place afterwards. Because you got this story of Asher.
Asher.
Because Asher chose you.
Yes, he did.
He chose you. But I need you to tell our audience, because this blew me away. This 3 days, baby.
Yes.
Just this took me over. Yeah.
So we get back to South Carolina after recording that album. And I'm just going through. I'm going through emotionally, and I'm really trying to find my way. I'm trying to find my way back to God. And I think it was necessary for me. It was necessary for me to rebuild the relationship, my relationship with Christ, because I realized that I had been preaching and teaching faith all of these years, and somewhere along the way, I had just lost it. I wasn't as strong as I thought I was.
Yeah.
I wasn't as faith-driven as I thought I was, because this moment came and immediately I questioned the God that I've been preaching about. So I was looking for, and I'm going to take a pause right here, because during that season, I was trying to find my way back to relationship with him, but I was looking for worship or songs that spoke directly to my season, and I just could not find it. You find songs that are about, it's gonna get better, and I know that, but right now it's not better. And tomorrow, I guess what, I'm still gonna be crying. Tomorrow, my heart is still gonna be broken. And my new album, it's called Tasha, and I intentionally went in writing songs for people who were in seasons that they could not explain, where they may have been questioning God, where their faith may be broken. And so my husband, when we went in to write songs for this album, he said, we're going to say the quiet things out loud. And this album says the quiet things out loud.
Because this is the first studio album that you have done.
Yes.
Yeah, everything else is live and in living color.
Yeah, and so I called some of the greatest songwriters. I called Chandler, I called Dante Bowe, I called Naomi Rain, I called Travis Green. I had all of these writers together, and I said, hey guys, y'all remember that season I went through where I was broken trying to find my way back to God? I want to write songs for people who are in seasons where they're questioning their relationship.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what we did. It is beautiful worship, because the Bible says for us to worship in spirit and in truth. And sometimes we skip that moment of honesty.
Yeah. And you had to get really honest with yourself.
Yep, I did. So we 6 months, it's about 6 months later, and I have this newfound, I can hear God again. You know, I'm coming back out of course you're gonna experience that grief.
Yeah.
You know, you still
it's the ebb and flow.
Yeah.
It comes in waves. Yeah.
Yeah. And my husband, he comes in the room where I am, and he says, "Babe, what do you think about adoption?" And oh my goodness. I have one of my friends, Jackie, she says, we have to trust God's will and his way. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we hear his will and we don't wait on his way. We try to do it our way. And me and Kenny had to be honest that we heard God's will, that you're going to have a baby. You know, it's going to be a beautiful boy, but we tried to do it our way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went through all this process in the name of, faith without works is dead, and
in
we
the
never
name of the
stopped
Father,
to say,
Son, and the Holy Ghost.
And God is like, okay, well, when you finish trying it your way,
come on back over here.
Yeah. And so we went through the process of adoption, and I didn't have natural birth pains, but it is pains. It is grueling. The process is grueling, and we don't experience it a lot in our community where people go through like legal adoption. You know, we have aunts and uncles who have adopted nieces and nephews, and God, we are so grateful for that, because there are so many babies around the world who may not have had a stable home, but family members have taken them in. It is a little different to do that process, and you don't know what you're going into, And so we had our adoption. We used an agent who was just amazing. She was just a prayer warrior. Sometimes in the middle of the night, she would text us and say, I'm praying for you guys. I'm covering you through this process. And that mattered, because you have so many emotions. Like, we don't know what we're going into. We don't know where the baby is. We don't know if this mom is going to choose us, And so we went through the process. It was about 7 months to get everything together to create our profile. And we did a semi-closed adoption. Of course, you have to do it that way. And we applied to 4 agencies, 4 of the top agencies. It was like California. It was just different states. And about 3 days after we submitted everything, where she called and she was like, okay, this is weird. And in my 20 years of doing this, I've never experienced anything like this. She said a mother walked into an agency in Louisiana, and everything about what she's asking, your profile fits. And we're on the other end like, okay, we don't want to get too excited. You have all of these emotions. Like, you don't want to get too excited. These things, may happen and it may not. And she said, what I want you to do is we're going to apply. There are 7 other families. I don't know if I told that before. There are 7 other families who she's looking at as well. She said, but I really, really feel this for you, Kenneth. She said, I feel like you need to sit down and write a handwritten letter about your story and how you feel like this baby fits your family. Talk about your blended family and your kids, your older children. And so Kenny went upstairs to his office, and he wrote out a handwritten letter. They screenshot it and sent it to the mom. And 3 days later, our agent called, and she said, you're not going to believe this. So my heart just drops to my feet. Like, don't play with me.
Because you're thinking, what are you thinking in the moment?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think, because one of the things that she said, she was very honest with us. She said, I've had families where it's taken 2 years. I've had families who never got a child. I want to be very honest with you. So we're gonna put your profile in, and we're gonna believe God. Yeah. Who would have ever thought that 3 days later, that this would happen? The mother, she said, we had a chance to talk. We had 2 conversations with the birth mom. And in one of those conversations, Kenny asked her, what made you choose us out of the 7 families? She said, honestly, I was sitting down reading the letter that you wrote. And she said, the baby started kicking. Yeah. She said, he chose you, I didn't.
I mean, talk about a resurgence of your faith. Talk about to come out of such a dark place. Yeah. And for God to reassure you with that magnitude.
Oh, my goodness. You preaching.
Listen, with that amount of power in that moment. like you needed just as much as Asher needed you, or you needed Asher, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the reassurance of your faith. That was like resurgence.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I mean, when I say we had 4 weeks, Asher was on the way.
Oh my goodness.
Like 4 weeks after that, we had to get a baby. We had to do everything.
Yeah.
We didn't know anything. You know, we had to figure out how do you put car seats in a car.
Yeah.
Because she was due in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So here we are. We have 7 months. The number 7 is just already prophetic. 7 months where it took us to build our profile. We had 3 days between when the mom chose us. And of course, we already know about resurrection and how these things. I was the one being resurrected.
Yeah.
I was in a dead place.
Yeah.
And God is like, well, here it is. Let me drop this on you, babe. I'm still God.
Still.
I still have a plan for your life.
Yeah.
My word is still true. And every word that I've spoken over your life is yes and amen.
Yeah.
And I know you've been in this weird space, but let me just reassure you, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Oh, like all of these things. And then we look at this baby. He is everything that God promised.
Yeah. It's like he has your face.
Oh,
it's like, well, we're
my face, my personality, Kenny's face, Kenny's personality.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And all of the babies, all of our babies, from Alana to Nehemiah to Symphony, he just fits right in perfectly.
Yeah, because you all have a blended family.
Yes.
And I want you, before you leave, because I want you to give our audience just a few lessons, right?
Yeah,
because
okay.
I want you to give them the lessons of what that resurgence in your faith taught you, but then what you've learned about yourself on this journey of motherhood and evolution as an artist as well.
Yeah. You know what? Going through that, I think it was necessary. It was necessary for me to see those broken places within my spiritual walk with Christ. Because I know everybody, we want to live on the mountain. We just, everything is good on the mountain, but what's true is that we don't pray as much on the mountain.
Yeah.
We don't seek the face of God as much on the mountain.
We on our knees in the valley.
In the valley?
We face down in the valley.
Yes. And God is like, I need you to go through these valley seasons so that it'll sharpen your walk with me.
Yeah.
You know, I realized in that season, these are the areas where Tasha needs to work on Tasha, And then don't even mention having the kids, because really kids are like mirrors. You are looking at yourself from Asher to Alana. There is something about me that I had to sharpen in me, looking in the face of every one of my children.
Yeah.
And so you talk about having kids, and all parents will tell you.
Yeah.
Most of the things that you're gonna fuss at them about and hammer down, it's something within you.
Yeah. I be looking at my sister. I be like, you can't even argue with me. You can't even say nothing because he's your child. Like
he is you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, I think that. The Bible talks about out of the mouth of babes, we listen to our children. We listen to them. We had, I love to share this about blended families, because though our family, we get along very well, we have a well-oiled unit going on here, So a few months ago, though, our children called a family meeting. And they had an opportunity to share, like, here are some things that y'all are doing. It doesn't feel good. Here are some things that we would like to see, some changes that we would like to see. And one thing I love about my husband that he's even taught me about parenting is that he doesn't immediately get on the defense to try to defend us. And though some things that they're seeing may be through the lens of an 18-year-old or through the lens of a 13-year-old, we go to God first on how to address it.
Yeah.
And we are honest with ourselves. Like, how much of this is true? And how much of this can we tweak to make it better? I don't ever want it to be like, even when I do podcasts, when I write the book, and I even promised our children this, I won't, I'm not going to gaslight. There are some moments where our family we have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, here's some things that may have worked 5 years ago from you guys, but you guys are older now.
Yeah.
And there's some tweaks that we have to make.
Yeah.
I feel like for anybody that's listening, be honest with yourself and hear your children out. Yeah, hear the truth, and there may be a little fluff there. It might be a little bit of selfishness where they're like, "Hey, I want more time," and and be honest with yourself and be honest with them. I might not have more time to give right now, but this is what I can do.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about the 5 years of things that you might have to change, even with the children. As we begin to close out, though, what's been the thing that you've had to change as an artist, as a worship leader, as a pastor? How have you evolved in that way?
You know what? And I have to go back. It's personal. Like there are some, I noticed that when I change, things around me start to change.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So there were some things about, okay, let's talk about pastoring. Pastoring requires, it requires you personally giving a lot of yourself, being intimate and close with people. Well, let's contrast that up against Tasha the artist. Because artistry and platform and influence, it calls for you to pull away from people. So I was used to going out, doing concerts, traveling, doing tours, going back to my house, and you live this private life. But pastoring now, you know, now you got to pull people in. That's a hard
You're
place
shepherding.
for me. Yes, because for so many years it was like, I led you in worship. Now y'all go back to your houses and I'm gonna go back to mine. You don't get to do that in pastoring. You have to love people and you have to love them close. You know, and some of them may leave and you still have to love them close. That's a new place for me. You know, it's a new place for me. And I'm sharpening myself as an individual now. That Tasha, you gotta find a way to pull these walls down and let people in. Because your career has allowed you to build walls. But now you're in an intimate space with people where you represent Christ in their lives. And you don't need that distance.
Yeah. You don't need the distance. Yeah.
That's tough.
Is there something that you realize that you have to distance yourself from in this season of your life?
In this season of my life, I have, I won't say distance. I've had to draw closer to Tasha the mom, Tasha the wife. And that means sometimes I have to say no to Tasha the artist. Where it's calling, I can get calls every week, go here and there and everywhere. I was at an event and Oprah was the speaker and she got up and said something that changed my life, especially now that I'm 43 going on 44. Yeah. She said, she sat down and she said, I'm here because I want to be. She said at this stage in life, I go places because I want to be there. There was a season where I felt like I had to be there and I have to go and I gotta travel. And now I'm in this place where it's, you know, I go where God is calling me and the places where I want to be.
Yeah, where you want to be.
And I want to be home. I want to be with Asher. I want to be with my kids, you know. You know, and I feel like they deserve that right now. And I can tell that they're enjoying it.
Yeah. As we close out, one word you're committed to in this season of your life.
Peace.
Why?
Because there were so many years that I didn't have it, and it was because of my actions.
Ooh.
I lived in a place where it was go, 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 work. Don't live in the moment. You know, I was always the next one, sending out an email. I could be, you know, people who have to, my therapist told me this, and I know we got to go. She told me, she said, make your family make you be present. And to this day, they do that. Like
make
my
your
husband,
family make you be present.
He will stop me and say, do you have a headache right now? I have arthritis in my feet. He'll say, are your feet hurting? It grounds me. Because I never celebrated awards. I never celebrated, you know, an album doing this. I never celebrated mountains. I never even stopped to, you know, to embrace a valley moment. I was just always going. And in that lifestyle, you forfeit peace because you're always so busy. Yeah. Now I prioritize peace.
Tasha Cobbs Leonard, it was a pleasure for you to sit down with me today. Vault and Power Talks, another good one for the books. Be sure to share this with someone who needs a little more peace and clarity in their lives. We could all use it. Until next time, you guys, I'm your girl, Brandi Harvey. Eat well, give a damn, move your body every single day. Peace.